All right, so this is going to be a video on quadratic formula technique, and basically what this lets us do is that if you have a quadratic function, a quadratic equation that's in the standard form where it's ax squared plus bx plus c, if you knew what a, b, and c were, then you could just plug it into this formula that would give you the solutions for this equation. So that's basically what we're going to be trying to do here, is we're going to try to solve for x in this equation, and I'm going to keep it in terms of a, b, and c. That way we end up having a formula at the end that we can use and in case we ever knew any of the a, b's, and c's of any equation that we're trying to solve. We can always just use this quadratic formula and it would give us the exact answer. Now what's great about this is that it's going to give us the exact answer like I just said, and you don't have to go through all the monotony of the completing the square technique. It's just kind of a formula that you use, you get the answer, and you can just call it a day. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do, again, we're trying to solve for x. So the main goal here is to solve for x. So just say x equals something by the end of this. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is that I am going to subtract that c off from both sides. So I'm going to subtract the c off to the other side. So you're going to end up with ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I am going to divide off that a. Okay, so I don't want this a term right here. I want it to just be x squared. So what I'm going to do is divide both sides by a. So I'm going to divide this by a and divide this by a. Okay, and what that's going to end up simplifying to is the following. All right, so from here, the next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to try to complete this square right here. So I know this b right here, and as long as you know the b term, in this case it's b over a, all you have to do is divide that by 2 and square it. So that's what I'm going to do next. This is just going to end up being b over 2a, because you have to divide it by 2, and then you have to square it. And since I added it to the left side, you're also going to have to add it to the right side as well. So you end up with something like that. Okay, so now I have a perfect square on the left. So what I'm going to do is actually write that as a perfect square polynomial. So I'm just going to do x plus, now it's going to be whatever this middle term is divided by 2. So it's going to be x divided by 2a. This quantity squared is equal to, okay, this side right here, I'm just going to simplify it. So c over a, and then this is going to be plus b squared all over 4a squared. Okay, so basically I squared this b, I squared the 2a to get the 2 squared is 4, a squared is a squared. Okay, so everything is simplified as it is currently right now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this right side so that it has a common denominator. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite this really quick. So we have x plus b over 2a squared is equal to, okay, the common denominator in this case would be 4a squared. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom here by 4a over 4a. So it's going to be negative 4ac divided by 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. Okay, these are basically going to combine. I'm going to kind of reorder this so that that b squared is in front. So you're going to end up with something like this. So you end up with something like this. Okay, the next step that I'm going to do then is I am going to take the square root of both sides to get rid of this squared right here. Again, the whole goal is to solve for x. So I took the square root of this, and then I got to take the square root of this. And I'm going to do a plus or minus here because I'm doing the square root. Okay, the square root and the squared cancel. So on the left side, you're going to end up with x plus b over 2a. So then I'm going to take the square root of the right side. I'm actually going to simplify that denominator. So you're going to end up with plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac on top. And then the square root is just going to end up being 2a. Okay, so you end up with something like that. Next thing I'm going to do is subtract off this term right here. So now you're actually going to have an x by itself equal to plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a minus b over 2a. Now if you notice, they have common denominators. So actually what I'm going to do here is combine these two to be one full equation, one full formula here. So I have x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So there you have it. Now we have a quadratic formula. As long as you know a, b, and c for any quadratic equation, and then you can actually just solve that by plugging in the a, b, and c accordingly based on this formula. So this formula basically is the ultimate because it's going to tell you the exact answer for any quadratic equation that you use as long as it's in standard form and you know that a, b, and c. So if you have any questions about anything with a quadratic formula, let me know.